Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So I don't make a ton of betting related videos on this page, but one thing that I like to do is before every single season, tell you guys some of the team or player futures as well as player awards that I'm betting on in this upcoming season. I love to set aside a couple $100 and just sprinkle it and see how it plays out. So I am going to go through 8 of my best bets for this season. I'm probably going to be betting on every single one of these. Some of these I've already bet on. I'll let you know which ones. We're going to get into it based on my season predictions, how I think the season is going to go. And up first, this is the one that I think is like the biggest, the closest thing to a lock is the Calgary Flames under 81.5 points. When looking at them last year, they had 81 points last year, and that was with half a season of Elias Lindholm, 60 to 65% of their season with Chris Tanev and Noah Hannafin, as well as Zadorov for the first couple games, and Markstrom for a full season. He was great for them, as well as them shipping out Andrew Mangiapane. What was the only thing that they really did this offseason? Sign goddamn Anthony Manta. This team's going to stink. I would even hammer this if it was like 78.5 points. The fact that it's 81.5. Again, they had 81 last year. They were tied for the 9th worst team in the entire NHL, them and the Devils and the Sabres, I believe. So as long as they're like a bottom 7 team, which I think outside of Columbus and San Jose, they're probably the worst team in the entire NHL. Yes, maybe Anderson and Weegar can carry that defense score. Maybe if a guy like Connor Zary, Matt Coronado take steps, they can be okay. Or Dustin Wolf is great out of the gate. They could be. I still don't see 81 points of this goddamn team, considering all the teams in the Western Conference that are taking steps. Eastern Conference, basically every single team outside of Columbus is trying to win this season. So I think the Columbus Blue Jack or the Calgary Flames are going to be a pretty goddamn bad team. And as a result, at 81.5 points, I am definitely taking that under. Next up, I'm going with another under. I am going with Jamie Drysdale to score less than 34.5 points. This one's over on DraftKings. The other one was on FanDuel. When looking at this, this also shocked me when looking at Jamie Drysdale. 34.5 points for a guy that played 8 in 34 games the last 2 years. He has been extremely injury prone, and even once he was traded to the Philadelphia Flyers last year, he only played 18.48 a night. I think that's going to go up, but again, that's like third pair minutes, and when looking at the Flyers coming into next season, he's at best the number 3 defenseman, number 3 offensive defenseman. When looking at the fact that Travis Sanheim had 44 points last year, Cam York played 22-30 a night, had 30 points, as well as being on their top power play. I think Drysdale's probably going to be on the second pair, probably second power play. So when looking at Philadelphia, when I think of Philadelphia, I don't think of that much offensive explosion heading into next season. So for a guy like Drysdale that could only play half the season, even if he is fully healthy, getting to 35 points seems very high. That seems like they're just looking at the fact that he went, 6th overall back in 2020 and just assuming that he's going to put it together. But I just don't see him playing that much under a John Tortorella's system. Even if this was like 31, 32 points, I would pretty easily hammer the under. So the fact that it's sitting at 34.5, he needs to hit 35, which is legit like number 2 defenseman kind of production, is pretty surprising in my opinion. And that's why I'm definitely going to go under. In terms of a player award, it's technically a little bit of a long shot, but he is my pick to win it. UC Saros is 15-1 to win the Vezina. I think that is crazy when looking at the fact that someone like Jeremy Swayman, who's still holding out at this point, he's 6-1. Sorokin, although I think he's going to be 100% by the start of the season, he's coming off back surgery. The Islanders probably are not going to absolutely workhorse him next season. He's sitting at 9-1. Thatcher Demko, who apparently is dealing with serious knee injuries that can't even be corrected by surgery, he's at 10-1. Vasilevsky at a 900 save percentage, still hasn't looked the same post that injury. He's at 12-1. And you have UC Saros at 15-1. Yes, he did have a bit of a down year last year, but we're still at a 906. The Predators should easily be a playoff team heading into next season with a pretty damn good defense score. So at 15-1, he's tied for like the 11th best odds in the entire NHL for a guy that from 2021 to 2023 posted around like a 922 and led the entire NHL in games started the last 3 years. He should genuinely be like 8-1, in my opinion. So 15-1, there is a shit ton of value for him when looking at some of the guys that are at 6-1, 8-1. UC Saros should be in that pack, and he's not, and you should take advantage by betting on him. A little bit of a bias pick. My New York Islanders over 91.5 points. I am going to be betting on this. When looking at them last year, they were a 94-point team, and that was with Lane Lambert coaching half of the season, with them blowing so many goddamn leads under Lane Lambert. I assume that they're going to clean up some of that that. Again, they were leading most games heading into the third period. So as long as they can cut down on that, and Sorokin, although I think he's going to be 100%, he was not very good last season. If he improves his play, this should be at least a 94-point team. And especially after adding a guy like Duclair and Saplakov, I think that this forward core is actually going to be pretty strong. The top four is pretty solid. So as long as Patty Waugh can coach this team up to what they're capable of, I'm not saying they're going to have 100 points, 105 points, but 91.5 for a team that's made the playoffs the last 2 years. And last year, easily, if they just didn't blow some leads and Sorokin played slightly better, not even just Vezina level, they probably would have been a 98, 99-point team. I think my New York Islanders will go over the 91.5 point total. And as a result, that is why they are on this list. Another point total over that I am really liking is the Edmonton Oilers, 106.5, which is a lot. But when looking at them last season, despite having a 2-9-1 start, they finished with 104 points. I'm not saying they're going to go at the pace that they were post Chris Knobloch hiring, which was a 115-point pace. I think that's definitely possible, but I see this team being around the 110, 112-point team. They only improved this offseason in terms of getting even more offensive firepower with Jeff Skinner, with Victor Arvidsson, Adam Henrique. I feel like that's not getting talked about nearly enough. The fact that they were able to retain him and actually have a solid third-line center at this point. I think Ty Emberson can be an upgrade over Cody Ceci. And as long as Stuart Skinner is half decent, this team should pretty easily cruise to north of 107 points. And as a result, I think that they're probably the odds-on favorite to win the President's Trophy. So getting them at 106.5 is pretty good value in my opinion. A player's points over under that I'm liking is Shane Pinto, 45.5. This was 42.5 about like a month ago. I still like it at 44.5 when looking at Shane Pinto. 27 points in 41 games last year, playing around 18 minutes a night. He was on pace for 54 points in a pretty major role for the Ottawa Senators. Yes, he might start out on that third-line center position, but I think he's honestly going to leap Josh Norris this season. When looking at him, he is so young. He's only 23 years old. As long as he produces at roughly the same rate as last year, he should easily go north of 45 points. And when looking at his health, he did deal with some health problems early on in his career, but the prior season, he played 82 games, and last year he played 41 out of 41 games. I feel like this kid is locked in and ready for a massive breakout. And if Josh Norris is not 100%, they will easily elevate him to that second line center position, to that first power play. And even if he is a third line center and only on the second power play, 45 points is not a lot for a guy like Shane Pinto. So as a result, he is on one of my overs. Under in terms of a team point total, people aren't going to be shocked by this, but I have the Detroit Red Wings at 90.5. I am going with an under. Last year, they were top 3 in shooting percentage in the entire NHL, and I'm going to post the stat from Data Driven Hockey right now. They're the only team of the salary cap era to be top 3 in shooting percentage and miss the playoffs. So when looking at them, they shot the shit out of the puck last year, but there's just so many other problems with this team heading into next season. The defense outside of Moritz Seider is one of the worst defense cores in the entire NHL, as well as the goaltending. Maybe Cam Talbot can have a very good season, similarly to what he did in LA, although LA was a little bit more so the defense core, but maybe he can stabilize it. But if not, they're going to have to rely on like Ville Husso and Alex Lyon and Cam Talbot. That trio really doesn't move me that much. I like the first line. I think it's a very good first line, but they're going to be relying on Vladimir Tarasenko and Patrick Kane to be high impact second liners in 2024, 2025. I don't know how good that strategy is on top of their second line center not really being a true second line center in JT Compher. And the bottom 6, in my opinion, is pretty below average. I think the Red Wings are going to be about a mid 80-point team. I like the Islanders. I like the Capitals. Probably like the Senators and the Sabres more than the Detroit Red Wings heading into next season. There's just far too much question marks with this team. I think once Edvinsson, ASP, Danielson, Nygaard are all impact players, they'll eventually become a playoff team. But next season, I think they're due for some regression, and a lot of the underlying numbers also suggest that. And then lastly, my final bet is Seth Jarvis over 62.5 points. When looking at him last year, 33 goals, 34 assists, 67 points, and he's only going to have an elevated role this season, considering all the guys that the Carolina Hurricanes lost. He's probably going to start on that top line with Sebastian Aho and Andrei Svechnikov with the first power play. This kid is legit. There's no doubt. He just had a sophomore slump his second year. He is going to be a legit 65-plus point guy going forward. He has all the tools, all the capabilities of doing so. One of the better two-way players already in the NHL, and I don't see him, as long as he's healthy, I don't see him taking a step back. I think at the bare minimum, he's going to be repeating his high 60s points total. So to read it back, we got Jarvis over 62.5, the Red Wings under 90.5, the Shane Pinto over 44.5, the Oilers over 106.5, Islanders over 91.5, Drysdale under 34.5, the Soros to win the Vezina at 15-1, then the Flames under 81.5 points. Let me know in the comments, what do you think about these bets? Are you tailing me on any of these? Are you fading me on any of these? I want to hear from you guys. And do you guys want to see any more betting content going forward? I don't like it's not going to be a lot. Trust me on that. But let me know in the comments, what do you think about this video? I'll be seeing the next one.